What's going on, people? How y'all feeling? I want to talk about something real quick. I was reading some Islamic literature and I came across um, something that was talking about the mind. And it says the mind is a light that Allah, the Most High, places in the hearts of the servant for them to be able to distinguish between what's right and wrong. In order to know between what's right and wrong, you have to be at what we call the age of discernment. And many young children haven't reached that age. They're too young to know what's right or wrong. They're too young to be able to defend themselves. They're too young to be able to help themselves. And therefore, many of them have been taken advantage of. Many of them have been sexually molested. Many of them have been manipulated and taken advantage of into a lifestyle that they didn't ask to adopt. And that lifestyle is homosexuality. If you let the powers that be tell it, they would say that this was a freedom of choice, something that they chose. This is what they push when they call it equality for the so-called alphabet community. And it's not a joking matter when you call a person gay, because many of them have, or many of them was once young children that couldn't defend themselves, that didn't know between what's right and wrong, and was helpless. And they was taken advantage of. And they're pushing that a person was born this way because they don't want to deal with the fact that in many cases, if not all cases, that pedophilia took place. And they wasn't able to choose what they wanted to be, but rather they was forced into a lifestyle. They was forced into this lifestyle. And they don't want to address the elephant in the room. They don't want to address the despicable and filthy nature of how many people took advantage of these young children. If you've ever seen that movie called Born Identity, the first movie, there was a character named Jason Bourne who caught amnesia. He didn't remember his name. He didn't remember nobody, none of his friends. He didn't know what he did for a living. But he still had a set of skills, a set of tactics, defense tactics that he was able to use to defend himself. That goes to show you that the mind may forget, but the body has memory. The mind may forget, but the body has memory. And this is an example of what happened to many children. Their mind forgot the wicked and despicable things that happened to them, but their body feels a certain type of way. So that's why they say they was born this way. And the powers that be don't want to expose the pedophilia, so they plant the seed in the masses' heads that this is something that a person was born with, to make it seem like this was something that they chose to do. This is something that they had the freedom of choice to do. They call this freedom, but yet really it's oppression. Really it's manipulation and indoctrination. And that's not a joking matter, because it's only by the the grace and the permission of the Most High that many of us wasn't taken advantage of at ages when we didn't know between right or wrong. We couldn't defend ourselves and we was helpless. It's only by the grace of the Most High that we were shielded and protected from that. I don't accept it. However, under them circumstances, I can understand it. It could happen to your child. It could happen to your daughter. It could happen to your son. It could happen to your niece. It could happen to your nephew. The excuse that a child was born this way, a person was born this way, and how it's being pushed is very dangerous. Because in one way, the ones that are ignorant, that don't know better, they begin to adopt this ideology. And on another end, it gives many of those parents that was neglectful, many of those parents that was irresponsible, and the welfare and the protection of their children, it gives them an excuse not to look themselves in the mirror and take accountability for the neglect, for the misjudgment, for the selfishness, whether they wanted to go out to a party and drop the kid off somewhere, or whether a family member took advantage of them uh, while they was having a family get together and the child told them and they just swept it under the rug. It gives them an excuse not to look themselves in the mirror and actually hold themselves accountable. That's not a laughing matter. Nowadays, you can't speak about how you feel, not even in a respectful way. You have some of the most so-called gangsters, right, who are about that life, who within the drop of a hat, within the blink of an eye, within a snap of a finger, will go at your neck. You have some of them who can't practice self-control when they have a disagreement and willing to not only go to blows, but willing to go to the guns with someone that looks just like them. They know what to say and what not to say when it comes to that alphabet community. Because they have the power to control their bag, so to speak. They have the power to cancel them, to shut them down, right? So they know what to say and they know what not to say. I mean, this is equivalent to being robbed without a gun. If you could let a person or a people get together, stand upon something, not only a people that can get together to stand upon something, but to many of us, we believe to, you know, have some sugar in their tank or be less of a man for the men who are gay, because this is what they believe, you know, this is what they believe in the back of their minds. They may not say it, but this is what they believe. You could let a people like that form together and stand up upon something and shut you down without laying a finger on you, and actually put so much, force that you won't even say anything. Then when it comes to your own people and your community, y'all could work out your problems without going to blows or without picking up the guns. You have the self-control. Or rather, where's your self-control when it comes to your own people? How emasculated have the men become? How emasculated have the men become? The so-called men become? And we want our youth to respect us. And you wonder why the youth don't respect us and don't want to hear anything that we got to say. Because we've been emasculated right in front of their eyes. They took your voice. You can't even, speak about things that in which you grew up. How can I say this? The morals and values that you was raised upon, or some of the morals and values that you have. Because none of us are perfect, but the morals and values that you have, you're afraid to speak. You got guys that got millions. They're afraid to speak. This goes to show you how many people are controlled by the masses. Malcolm X said that the media is the most powerful entity on earth because they have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. And that's power because they control the minds of the masses. They could say something about me on the news today, something that's not even true. And the people will take it like a chicken and gobble it up and run with it. You have people in your family looking at you wrong. This is how powerful they are and how much of a picture they could paint and how much of a seed that they could plant in the minds of the people that go against you. The weak minds of the people. A person that knew you their whole life. Not saying that a person can't act a certain way and be someone else, but in many cases, the powers that be could ruin a person's reputation, and they use the people to destroy the people. We take it, we take some information like that Popeye's chicken sandwich, and we push it and we spread it faster than COVID-19 to reach the other end of the earth. But I don't want to go off topic more than I already have. I want to mainly address the situation of how the mass media is painting this picture that a person was born this way. And that's not the case. Believe me, that's not the case. A lot of these children have been taken advantage of. A lot of these children have been taken advantage of at ages that they can't defend themselves, that they are defenseless, and they don't know between right and wrong. And they've been indoctrinated into a lifestyle that they didn't choose. And that's not freedom, that's oppression.